Now let me explain to you the climate finance challenges. Students, gaps between commitments and actual disbursement, this inadequate adaptation funding, complex procedure for assessing funds, political tensions around responsibility and equity, lack of transparency and tracking system, high transaction cost for vulnerable countries. These are few of the challenges that developed and developing nations both are facing. Students, let me give you a chronological description of major COPs till date. The first COP1 that occurred in Berlin in the year 1995, it initiated the commencement of substantive negotiations to establish binding emissions reduction target for developed nations. It stemmed in the Berlin mandate that placed the groundwork for Kyoto Protocol. The second one was COP3 that took place in Kyoto in the year 1997. Adoption of Kyoto Protocol, the first legally binding agreement to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, set reduction targets for listed countries during the first commitment period from 2008 to 2012, introduced market mechanism like clean development mechanism, joint implementation and emission trading. The next is COP7 Marrakech in 2001. Adoption of the Marrakech Accords detailing rules for implementing the Kyoto Protocol, a strengthened capacity building and technology transfer framework. The next is COP13. This took place in Bali in the year 2007. Adoption of the Bali Action Plan initiated negotiation for a post-2012 climate regime. Introduction of REDD, reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation, that was implemented in Bali Summit. Then the next is COP15 that took place in the year 2009 in Copenhagen. Political but non-binding Copenhagen Accord was adopted. Developed countries pledged to mobilize $100 billion annually by 2020. This accord recognized the need to limit global temperature rise to below 2 degrees centigrade. The next was COP16 in Cancun in 2010. This agreement emphasized upon Green Climate Fund as the chief financial instrument under the United Nations FCCC. This was officially established in this year. Reinforcement of REDD plus mechanism and adaptation frameworks were adopted. Formation of the Cancun Adaptation Framework took place in this year. The next was COP17 in Durban in the year 2011. This launched the negotiation for a universal legal agreement applicable to all parties. This operationalized the Green Climate Fund, introduced the Durban Platform for Enhanced Action. You may be very well aware with the Doha Summit which took place in 2012. This is the COP18. Doha Amendment was adopted and it has outspread the Kyoto Protocol for the next commitment period. This period was from 2013 to 2020. Advancement on long-term climate financial discussion. The next COP20 took place in the year 2014 at Lima. This guided countries to submit their intended nationally determined contributions, which is also known as INDCs. The next agreement took place in the year 2015. This is known as COP21 and it took place at Paris. COP20 was the most significant landmark and transformative in the history of COPs. Adoption of the Paris Agreement, a universal legally binding climate treaty. Long-term goal to limit global temperature rise to well below 2 degrees centigrade, preferably 1.5 degrees centigrade. This introduced nationally determined contribution. This emphasized climate finance, adaptation and transparency framework, called for a balance between mitigation and adaptation funding. The next COP24 took place in Katowice in 2018. Adaptation of Paris Rulebook, it has strengthened the measurement, reporting, verification. The next was COP26, which took place in Glasgow in the year 2021. In this global commitment to phase down coal, there was a need to urge the stronger 2030 targets and accelerated climate finance. Another chronological event which took place in the year 2022 in Sharm el Sheikh, and this is known as COP27, historic establishment of loss and damage fund addressing irreversible climate impacts. In this, the focus was on climate justice and resilience for vulnerable nations. In 2023, COP28 took place at Dubai, the first global stock take under the Paris Agreement. This was a call for transitioning away from fossil fuels. This strengthened commitment on finance, mitigation and adaptation. Together, these COPs have proved to be the historical backbone of the global climate governance. These COPs have led to the development of key institutions such as Green Climate Fund. So students, with this I am concluding my chapter. The emphasis of this lecture was climate change is the most dangerous threat to existence of human lives, ecosystem and their long-term survival. In order to counter this challenge, a swift, properly coordinated and adequately financed global response is required. The agendas implemented under the United Nations FCCC were strengthened through various COPs. I had given a chronological order of COPs starting from 2011 till now, and in this regard, the Global Climate Fund has provided a significant support to vulnerable countries, enabling them to take up newer transitional low carbon pathways, enhance resilience and protecting their population.